Well, let's leave that to later. Some of the things Lee and I talked about before we got on this call was how can we add value as agents? We have tons of people going, we need more sellers, we need more sellers. Lee, tell me a little bit about a tool that is free that you're using today that's helping you dig deep to find sellers.
Yeah, great question, Tiffany. So one of the things, and I find markets that I absolutely love to serve, right? Because it's going to give me more energy. And two of those markets are Baden Lake and Lake Tillery. And they each have their unique personalities and everything else. I know them really well. And so I'm using, and it's free, Tiffany. I know we love free, right? We love free, and free for us is in the MLS. When you go in and all those little realtor tools are there, there's a tool called Remine, R-E-M-I-N-E. And so when you go and you click on it, you start going, oh my God, there's all this information here, but I don't know if I can make heads or tails out of it. I've been using Remine to help me find those properties, because what happens is, I don't know about your market, but on the lake, there's only like 4 properties available for sale right now. And so I'm having to call folks and say, hey, I see, just wondering how things are. Are you interested in ever selling or something like that? One of the things it did for me was, as I've looked through properties, all of a sudden I found people I know. And I'm going, God, I forgot to call them. So let's go build relationship, which I think is something we talked about. I use this as a tool to help me go build some relationships and then show my value.
That is great. I have used Remine to dig deep to find owners that have equity in their property, owners that might not be the occupant of the home, owners that have owned the home for a certain amount of time. Remine gives you additional resources to dig deep. And then you can take that data and information that you learn and you can find their phone numbers, you can find them on social media, or you can send direct mail to them saying, hey, I have a buyer for your property. And in today's market, when it's so tough to find sellers, we all have a database that we go to, and there are different ways you can add value there. But Remine gives you one extra tool in that neighborhood or that area where you're like, my buyer really wants to be there, but there's nothing on the market, which we're all facing today. Or we keep getting beat out by the multiple offer situation. And so Remine was just one of the tools we mentioned. And Lee and I didn't talk about this, but there's another tool out there that for new construction, and I know a lot of new construction has waiting lists, but there's New Home Source Professional, which all of RE/MAX has for free, and Sarah Robertson can share that information with you. That gives you a list of all of the new builders and new communities in our area, so at least you know what they are without having to drive around a certain area. You can pinpoint and you can help your clients that way. But from a Remine standpoint, it's all of the data in our MLS, and it's very easy to use. If you need more information on it, I think we've had trainings on it. Matrix has trainings on it, and it's an invaluable tool that I think if we ask everyone on the call to raise their hand, have you ever used Remine? Lee and I were talking, we don't think many people use it, and we're paying for it as one of the services through our MLS. So I would suggest Remine as a way to find sellers in your market.
Yeah, one of the things I've used, Tiffany, is when I've dug through and all of a sudden I have found, for instance, maybe it's someone I know or I didn't or whatever about a particular property. I just use I call it the Ford method, right? Which is the whole family, occupation, the recreation, or the dreams, right? I use that to sort of maybe, because we always curious about cold calling. One of the interesting things, I found the stat that just really sort of surprised me. It'll let you set what they call a sales score, and you alluded to that. A sales score takes all this other aggregate information and says, hey, the property's more likely to sell within 6 months to a year as compared to other surrounding properties. So for me, it lets me go pick, I call the low-hanging fruit first, try to see if I can uncover something and have it go after it. So it's not perfect, but it at least gets me going towards something that I might be able to help do, and helps me establish value, whether it's this particular seller or it's a value for my buyer. I'm saying, hey, look, man, I'm still hustling. Here's what we're finding. Here's what we're looking like, and that kind of thing.
And you're right, Lee. That makes a great point and another pillar. But you said something about value. And right now, we are all great agents in our market. We're at RE/MAX Executive because we believe in the brand, we believe in who we are and the colleagues that we want to associate with. But one of the things that I think we all do, and right now we've got to be reminded of, is bringing the value to the clients, whether it's your sphere, which I'm sure all of us have a sphere written down somewhere we can utilize, or in a CRM, and then our databases of people that maybe we don't know, but people who have reached out to us from a signed call or from something we've posted on social media. You want to bring value. Everyone can look at properties, but you want to find value. And we have so much market intelligence and information. I think we've got to come as that relationship builder, that expert, and you've got to get out there. What are some of the things you're doing to connect with your database? I know most of us have that fear of calling, and you and I were talking, it's not just emails and texts and data, but it's actually physically having that communication and forwarding there as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I wrote, and I keep a little notebook now that I sort of just journal in every day, and it's just sort of stuff that keeps going, and I keep looking back. And I remember us alluding to this. I've got like 4 or 5 questions that I ask, like, how are the kids? Anybody graduating? Anybody have to graduate virtual? There's so much great stuff to talk about because everybody's had a different experience in 2020. And some of the other questions that I've asked, and this is a big one to determine, especially in your sphere. Hey, I'm curious, how many days will you be able to work from home? I asked that, said, hey, with your new office opening up, how many days do you think you're going to be able to work from home? I'm just curious, do you like your office? and then I wrote down the word shut up, because what we're finding, and it's happened inside the RE/MAX executive family, I've had referrals out here where they've sold something maybe in Waxhaw, Ballantyne, South, and then they've said, I'm going to the lake because 4 days a week I can work from home and I'd love to have that waterfront view. And so that's been a great question that I've asked. The other 2 questions that I really love to ask, and it's fun to get it because they just dream and they'll just talk, which is, hey, I'm just curious. 2021's coming. We got all kinds of new announcements. Looks like vaccines are rolling and this and that. What are you most looking forward to? Are you got any places you're planning on going on vacation? And then be quiet, write that stuff down because you just never know. I had someone tell me, we're actually thinking about going to Charleston. We've even looked at maybe buying something. Bingo. I listened, I wrote that down and I said, well, you got anybody you know? Because I've got several folks down there. It's about building relationships.
Relationships is key. And while we have all the data out there, everyone can see all of the listings that are available. It's us finding the value and adding it and remembering we're there to prospect and to talk to people and have conversations, because building those relationships are going to build our business. And right now is definitely the time to do it. The other piece I'll add, Lee, is oftentimes people are thinking, okay, all the kids are going to be gone out of the house by this time. Something I'm ashamed to say I just learned recently, and I used it to my advantage, is in Union County, and you should research the schools and the areas where you work, if your child is a junior and you get a waiver from the other school district, which Union County has said they haven't ever had one that didn't, and you're willing to pay $7 a day, you could move wherever you want. So if you have a job that's open, that might help get some of the people who are about to be empty nesters looking at what their equity is today. I personally live in Union County, and a great school district that I've lived in my daughter's entire life. She's a junior, and thinking, you know what, if I want to move back closer to the city, or if I want to do something different, I can do that right now. And a lot of people don't realize they can and cash in on their equity now, as opposed to what might happen in a year or 2 years. Giving the knowledge and resource of that type of information is huge to get someone off the fence. So if you have clients that are wondering.
Because what you just did too, though, was you established, in my opinion, if you're my realtor, you just established your value, your unique value proposition, that you're the person in the know. One of the things I did for the lake is, because both lakes are managed differently, one's Duke Energy, one's Progress Energy, is I created a Google folder and I just throw everything in it. And whenever I get a new client, a new buyer, or someone's thinking about selling, I literally send them the link to my folder. They can't edit anything in it, but they can just get anything. And it's almost like I've opened up, and it's scary, but I've opened up my noggin and I've said, you can look in here and you can get all of this information that I know about the lake. And you've bred, what I think you've done is you've taken relationship, you've added value, which creates loyalty.
And you are definitely right, Lee. I think that value add, people knowing that you know the details, you know the information, you can successfully guide them through a transaction is huge. And when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars and you know what the taxes are going to be now, you can have up to $500,000 in equity.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen in a year or 2 years. Sure, we're probably going to continue to appreciate a little bit, but taking it now, a bird in hand, is huge for some people. And even if they pay a little bit more to rent, they'll be on the sidelines ready to go for something else in the future, or they can take advantage of the interest rates today. And when you're looking at the interest rate or the appreciation continuing to grow, you can be where you want to go and still have that equity continuing to build right now.
That's spot on. One of the folks that bought a house out on the lake turned around and called me and said, hey, I know you know a lot about investment property. And so Remind was huge for me for finding an investment property, because I can go into Remind and say, show me all the folks with X% of equity, show me all the folks that are absentee owners, show me all, and you literally can build those filters till you find just those properties you're looking for.
That's one of the reasons I like Remind. One of the other pieces, and Hadi brought this up earlier, shiny objects. All of us get emails and messages all the time about, oh, you can buy this, you can buy this, you can get this. We have so many resources internally with Remax Executive and with our MLS that you don't need to buy things. Just go deeper on a few things that are here that we have already paid for you. Don't spend your dollars on that. Spend your dollars on developing relationships, not on buying new tools, because we've got more tools than we really need if you look at them all. Just understand what they are. If you have questions, Sarah is doing weekly orientations. Look at the topics. And if there's a topic that you don't know anything about, join that orientation and learn what Remax Executive is paying for you to be successful in the business today. And we all have our challenges, but I think Lee and I can both agree, we've got to find the tools and resources to add knowledge, add value, and build those relationships.
Right. And I think that's spot on, Tiffany. You almost finished that with being self-aware and know what gives us value and know where our unique value proposition is, so that we can then be that person. And just like we just said, maybe we need to be the decorator. Maybe we need to be the numbers person and help them understand what a cap rate is on an investment property, whatever that is. But if it's not our thing, well, then I'll reach out to Tiffany, or I'll reach out to someone in our family and say, listen, I need you to help with this or that to cement that value. And then it just goes better than there. I'll finish. For me, I have this thing. I used to have it written on a wall in my office, and it was NIHITO. And I had someone say, is that like some Japanese management philosophy? And I said, no, it's NIHITO, which stands for nothing important happens in the office. And the point was, get on the phone and don't text, don't email, just pick up the phone, have a conversation. It used to be that we'd meet for coffee or this or that, but just have a conversation with folks and you'll establish a relationship, and that's everything.
That is, and putting it in writing and holding yourself accountable for it, or finding a partner to hold yourself accountable for it, is key. If you're not out showing, you're not looking for clients, having those phone calls is key. And Lee, you brought up a good point. If you don't know much about South Carolina, get on the South Carolina forms call. I get questions all the time, and I know Sherry does as well, regarding South Carolina forms. And North Carolina and South Carolina are different. If you don't know it, push it out. We're the best of the best, and you don't want to get into a South Carolina deal and realize you don't know what you've done and try to undo it. So get on that call or listen to some of the pieces that we have out there on South Carolina forums, and any topic like the lake and the docks. I know Candy put together a great piece recently, and we really should all be doing everything we can to know the markets and know the areas that we're working in the forums, because that's huge with our clients. The last thing I want to say that Lee and I talked about is on that appraisal addendum that everybody's been talking about. One of the things you should be aware of is, in North Carolina anyway, you can walk away for any reason or no reason at all. So even if you have an appraisal addendum, I could decide I don't like the windows or I don't like the color of the house, and I can still walk away during the due diligence period, even with all of the appraisal addendums I've seen out there. If you've seen something different, share it with me, but I just wanted to point that out as we end our call. And I appreciate Lee's time and everyone's time today. If you have any questions that you want us to answer on the next company update, please share it with us and we'd be happy to.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys so much. That was a lot of really great info. Does anyone have questions? I know we're right at 11, but whether it's for Lee or Tiffany, Hadi's still here. So anything he spoke about earlier?
Well, you can always reach us, at a later date, and we're always available. Sarah is always there, and she can reach out to us if you guys have any questions that you can reach to any of us directly. But as you know, There's a lot of things happening out there, and we're trying to bring it to you. And we're doing these meetings, to be honest with you, so that we can educate you. We know you're busy, and sometimes you miss on something. So that's what the whole purpose of these company update is. And it's not really necessarily about the company, but it's about what's going on in the market nationally. So with that being said, if that's all, I think we'll let everybody go and